Hi, Phil with XenonSupply.com, your source for performance automotive lighting. Today we have a 2012 Hyundai Accent. We'll be installing HID by Xenon headlights. That means both your low beam as well as your high beam, a one HID upgrade. Now we've already gone ahead and installed them here on our demo vehicle. Let's go ahead and start from the beginning and see what it takes to upgrade your lights to Xenon Supply HIDs. Let's take a look at what we'll need to perform this installation. The Xenon Supply HID kit comes with two H4-3 by Xenon bulbs. Today we'll be using the 6000K color temperature, that's the crystal white. It also comes with two of the standard slim Intolight brand ballasts and two mounting methods for how to mount the ballast. We have 3M double-sided mounting foam, as well as metal mounting brackets if you want to bolt them to the chassis. The kit also includes the H4-3 by Xenon wiring harness you'll be using to hook up directly to your battery. The tools we'll be using are just a couple things. A 10mm socket and socket wrench, a Phillips head screwdriver. Today we'll just be using a socket wrench screwdriver. Diamond cutters, just to clean up your wiring. And a 1-inch hole saw or 1-inch unibit to drill into your dust covers. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do with any HID installation is remove the old halogen bulb. We're going to show you the process here on the passenger side. The process is the same on the driver's side. On the passenger side, to access the bulb, you'll be removing the dust cover here by turning counterclockwise. Pull the cap away to reveal access to the halogen bulb. You should take the H4 connector, pull it away, and then remove the wire clip that's holding the H4 bulb in place. Just press down, it should pop out. To remove the driver's side halogen bulb, it's a little bit more difficult because the fuse box is preventing your hand from getting access to the dust cover. The easiest way to remove that problem is to kind of release and loosen the headlight housing from the chassis. We're going to do that by removing the bolt here, as well as the bolt here, to lift up the headlight housing to give us more access. We're going to be using the 10mm socket and socket wrench. Let's go ahead and do that now. With the two bolts removed, what I like to do is take my left hand, pull up on the housing, and that allows my right hand access to remove the dust cover and remove the H4 bulb. Just like that. Before we go ahead and put the new HID bulbs into the new headlight housings, we have to first drill access holes for the wiring for the HID ballast. Now, on the passenger side, we need to drill an access hole that's large enough for this bundle of wires, just about 1/4 inch large, through the center of this hole. On the driver's side, you drill a hole large enough for this H4 connector to get through to provide signal for the relay for both your high beam and low beam switching. Let's go ahead and do that. This one's going to be about 3/4 inch, that one's 1/4 inch. And that's how the passenger side is going to be set up. Now, the bi-Xenon bulbs do not come with rubber grommets, so today we'll be using electrical tape to seal up your connection here. Let's go ahead and do the driver's side with a 3/4 inch hole. Okay. And that should be the win for the driver's side. I'm going to show you now how to run the wires for the H4-3 relay in the engine bay of the Hyundai Accent. Now I already have one laid out here, if you want to take a look. The actual control module is resting between the battery and the airbox. You have your power wire with your 25 amp fuse running along the battery up to the fuse right here, or the positive terminal. You have your shorter set of cables running to the driver's side headlight, ground wire, ballast power, and the bi-xenon switching cable here on the driver's side. You also have the H4 connector that you'll be connecting inside the headlight housing for signal for the control module. Now the longest set of cables is running all the way over to the passenger side and should have 3 connections only: the ground wire, ballast power, and the bi-xenon switching cable. And this one's going to run along underneath here, right on top of the radiator, all the way over to the passenger side. Go ahead and get this one installed. While we're installing the harness in the engine bay, it's a good idea to also mount the ballast, as they'll be using the same grounding bolt on each side of the chassis. Now, as you can see, I put on the metal brackets here with the included screws and nuts that came with the kit. We'll be using the 10mm socket and socket wrench to loosen this bolt, mount the bracket, as well as mount the grounding wire. Let's do that now. The grounding wire is going to go on first, and then the ballast goes right on top. Make sure that the ballast is not covering the fuse box for proper access if you ever need to get there. Alright, now that that's secure, you can go ahead and take the power wire from the harness and attach it to the one from the ballast on the driver's side. We'll go ahead and tighten that one up later. Let's go ahead and get the passenger side hooked up. For the harness power wire, we're going to be connecting directly to the battery terminal using this bolt right here. We're going to wrap the power wire around and attach it right here. This is a 10mm bolt. We'll just loosen it. Run our wire through and tighten it back down. Now you want to run this around this way so the cap will still close. If you run it on the other side, there's a plastic piece here that'll prevent it from moving. And let's move on to the passenger side. On the passenger side, we also have to mount the ballast as well as the grounding wire to the bolt here on the chassis. We'll be using the same 10mm socket and socket wrench. Just go ahead and loosen. Make sure the grounding wire is on the bottom. So, thread it through the bracket first, then the wire, and then back down. An alternate location for the ballast here could be the double-sided sticky tape against the chassis frame right here. If you have a different size ballast, you will have to find an alternate location. The locations here provide just enough clearance for when you're closing up the hood so they don't interact with each other. Now that we have this one buttoned down, we can actually go ahead and connect the power wires here from the harness. The last step is to install the bulbs, hook up these 2 power connections on each side, and we can go ahead and test those lights. Let's do that now. For the passenger side HID bulb installation, you'll be using the dust cover that has a smaller hole with the H4 bulb. You'll be installing the bulb with the open side facing up, and make sure that you take the latch and you pull it up before inserting. Once the bulb is in the grooves, you can bring the latch down and bring it around the HID bulb and push it down until it hits the latch. On the passenger side, you will not be using the stock H4 connector shown here, so you can just tuck it inside the headlight housing and close up the dust cover. Now that we have the dust cover on, you can go ahead and connect the rest of our connections. You have the bi-xenon signal cable here, and the power and ground wire for the HID bulb. Should be male and female. You can only connect it one way. There you go. Let's go ahead and get the driver's side installed. The driver's side is a little bit more complicated because of the additional wiring that's going to be going through the dust cover. We first need to get the H4 bulb in, open side facing up. Make sure you have the clip or the wire up before you insert the bulb. And once it's in, make sure it locks into its 3 tabs. Bring the wire down and around, just like on the passenger side. And push it down to lock it in place. Okay. You're now going to take your dust cover and run the H4 connector through first. This is where it's going to come in handy to lift it up to get better access. What you need to do is connect the H4 connector here on this side. Make sure that's secure. I'm going to tuck this one in into the side of the headlight housing. You are then going to run the wires coming from the HID bulb through the dust cover. Now with all the wiring through, you can go ahead and close this one up. Same as the passenger side, connect your bi-Xenon signal cables. As well as your HID bulb power and ground wire. Now all we have to do is test the lights, and once we confirm they're working, tidy up our wiring, and that should be it. The best way to test an HID system on a Hyundai Accent is to make sure the engine is on with all your accessories running to make sure the HIDs work in all conditions. As you can see, we've got the low beam on, my radio is on, I've got all my accessories going, including my interior lights, and the low beams are working. Let's go ahead and test the high beam setting. We've got the momentary push, as well as the permanent high beam. You also want to make sure that there are no warnings on your dash, I don't see any here, and that all your turn signals work. You've got your left, your right, and your caution lights. We're just about done tidying up. Don't forget you got to put the screws back in for the driver's side headlights since we did remove them. And once that one's all set, make sure to clip off all the rest of your zip ties excess for all your wiring. As you can see, everything's been nicely tidied up. Our wires are running all the way over to the passenger side. There are no loose wires that could get caught in the engine bay, and everything seems to be working properly. That should be it. As always, thanks for tuning in to xenonsupply.com. And again, if you're looking for the kit, you can visit us at xenonsupply.com or reach us by email or phone at help@xenonsupply.com or toll free at 1-800-840-3240. See you guys soon.